You stare at the dark screen long after midnight. Their name is still absent. The last message remains unanswered. Chosen one. Your thumb hovers above the conversation, wondering whether one more sentence could reopen what closed. But tonight, the silence feels different. It feels final. It feels like time has expired already. The room is quiet, but your thoughts are not. They return to every look, every promise, every sudden change. You keep asking what happened beneath the words you heard. This is not ordinary remembering. Something in your spirit knows the old season cannot carry you forward any longer. You felt the warning before the ending arrived. Peace left the conversation. Confusion entered the smallest moments. What once felt safe began demanding that you ignore your own discernment. You called it patience. You called it loyalty. Yet heaven may have called it an expiring room with no future inside. So hear the question beneath your grief. Were you rejected or were you rescued? Did they simply walk away, or did God allow distance because closeness was costing too much? Do not answer yet. The truth is deeper than blame and kinder than the story fear has repeated to you. I know what their name can do. It can appear on a screen and tighten your chest before you think. An old photograph can pull you backward. A familiar song can make an ordinary afternoon feel suddenly empty. This pain is real, chosen one. Your body remembers what words conceal. You have replayed the final conversations like evidence in a private trial. Maybe I spoke too quickly. Maybe I asked for too much. Maybe I should have stayed quieter. But self-examination becomes self-punishment when you assume every ending proves your failure. That burden was never yours to carry. There were things you could not see. Motives were hidden. Conversations happened beyond your hearing. Choices were made without your consent. Chosen one, God saw the entire field while you saw only the wound. If that truth meets you tonight, whisper, only God knows. Let heaven hold what you cannot. This declaration is not an escape from truth. It is surrender to the one who knows truth completely. God saw your effort. He saw each apology, each restrained reply, each night you chose prayer instead of revenge. You do not need to prove your innocence by destroying someone else publicly. Before any explanation, you deserve to be seen. You were not foolish for hoping. You were not weak for caring. You were not faithless because the loss confused you. Chosen one, God does not minimize this ache. He enters it gently, without rushing your heart toward an easy answer today. There is a difference between healing and pretending. Pretending says nothing mattered. Healing admits everything mattered, then refuses to remain imprisoned there. Perhaps you still miss them. Perhaps part of you still waits for an apology. That does not cancel discernment. Grief and wisdom can breathe together within you peacefully. C.S. Lewis understood the danger and beauty of loving deeply. He was an Oxford scholar, a Christian thinker, and a man acquainted with war, friendship, and devastating grief. He never treated love as sentimental safety. He knew that opening the heart creates both joy and genuine risk for everyone involved. In The Four Loves, Lewis wrote words that matter especially now. To love at all is to be vulnerable. Love anything, and your heart will be wrung and possibly broken. Let those words settle. Vulnerability was not your disgrace. Your broken heart is evidence that you loved with real courage, but Lewis was not praising endless exposure to harm. A tender heart is not the same as an unguarded door. Love can remain sincere while access changes. Forgiveness can be offered while distance remains. Chosen one, holiness does not require you to hand unsafe people another key to your peace. Imagine a house during a storm. Compassion may keep a lamp burning in the window, Wisdom still locks the door against the wind. The lamp is not hatred. The lock is not cruelty. Together, they protect what God is rebuilding. Your heart may stay warm without remaining available for destruction. You have wondered whether being hurt means you misheard God from the beginning. Not necessarily. Sometimes a relationship begins with real kindness and still reaches an unhealthy end. Sometimes people change. Sometimes hidden patterns surface. Sometimes grace teaches through departure what comfort could never reveal. Discernment grows after disappointment too. The mistake was not that you loved. The danger began when maintaining connection required abandoning truth. You noticed inconsistency, then explained it away. You felt unrest, then called it fear. You saw the boundary crossed, then blamed your sensitivity. Chosen one, love never asks you to become blind voluntarily inside. God is not hardening you. He is teaching your tenderness where to rest. He is preserving the part of you that still believes goodness exists. Removal can be mercy when continued access would train your heart to accept confusion as normal. This separation may protect your capacity to love well. That is why the pain carries two truths. Something precious was lost. Something precious is also being saved. Your memories deserve honesty, but your future deserves protection. Do not force yourself to hate what ended. Simply stop calling every closed door a failure of your faith or worth today. Tonight, place your hand over the place that aches. Breathe without bargaining. You do not have to send another message. You do not have to inspect their page. You do not have to solve the entire story before sleeping. Chosen one, rest can begin before complete understanding arrives for you. The first revelation is simple. You were not rejected because you were worthless. You may have been removed because God refused to let confusion become your permanent home. Keep listening. The next truth will show why distance often comes before divine direction and why obedience can feel lonely first today. There are departures that feel like theft. You wake up and reach for the phone. Then you remember, the person who filled your days is no longer there. The silence sits beside you before the morning begins. Chosen one, Abraham knew something about leaving what was familiar. He did not receive a complete map before he obeyed. He received a direction. God told him to leave his country, his relatives, and his father's household. Then God promised to show him the land that would come next. Notice the order. Abraham moved before he saw. He obeyed before he understood. He released the familiar before the future became visible. That kind of obedience can feel terribly lonely. You may understand that loneliness tonight. You may be standing in a room filled with memories. Every object seems to carry their voice. The chair remembers where they sat. The kitchen remembers the conversations you thought would continue. The photographs preserve a version of life that no longer exists. And still, God may be saying, leave this country of the heart, not because the memory has no value, not because every moment was false, but because the season has completed its assignment. Chosen one, distance often arrives before direction. God does not always explain the removal while it is happening. Sometimes He gives you enough light for the next step, then He asks you to trust Him with the road beyond it. This is where many people return too soon. They mistake familiarity for confirmation. They mistake longing for instruction. They mistake the ache of withdrawal for proof that the door should reopen. But an empty space can be evidence of obedience. The silence after separation can be the sound of a boundary being established. You are not required to chase what God has allowed to leave. You are not required to beg for access where peace kept disappearing. You are not required to make a closed relationship look alive. On a Friday night, you may scroll through celebration after celebration. Someone is engaged, Someone is moving into a new home. Someone is posting photographs beneath warm lights. You tap through the stories. You place the phone face down. Then you pick it up again. The room has not changed, but the comparison has changed the way you see it. You begin to wonder whether obedience has made your life smaller. You wonder whether you should have accepted less confusion. You wonder whether peace was too expensive. Chosen one, do not measure your season by another person's announcement. You cannot compare your hidden preparation with someone else's public celebration. A seed underground looks forgotten until the appointed season reveals its life. Deep roots grow where no audience can applaud them. The hidden work is still work. The quiet season is still a season. And the Lord is not measuring your worth by visible movement. You have been faithful in rooms where nobody thanked you. You have kept your heart from revenge when retaliation would have been easy. You have deleted the message, then rewritten it in your mind. You have wanted an explanation more than you wanted another relationship. That distinction matters. Sometimes you are not longing for the person. You are longing for the justice of being understood. You want them to recognize what they did. You want the hidden facts to become public. You want the people who believed the wrong story to finally see the whole field. God sees that desire. He also knows what public vindication could do to your heart. If their confession became the condition for your peace, they would still control you. If their apology became the doorway to your healing, your future would remain in their hands. Chosen one, justice belongs to God because He can judge without becoming cruel. He can reveal truth without poisoning your spirit. He can restore your name without requiring you to destroy theirs. You may forgive without pretending trust has returned. You may bless their future without reopening your own door. You may release the need to be believed by everyone. There is a holy freedom in no longer presenting evidence to people committed to misunderstanding you. The Lord was present in every unseen moment. He saw the restraint nobody praised. He saw the nights when you almost returned. He saw the prayers you could barely finish. He saw you choose silence when your wounded heart wanted an audience. That restraint was not weakness. It was a witness. Your life testified that God could hold you when another person would not. Your quietness did not erase the truth. It protected the truth from being dragged through unnecessary noise. Wait here, chosen one. The removal did more than separate you from someone. It exposed the place where their approval had become a substitute for God's voice. That discovery may sting, but exposure is not condemnation. It is an invitation to rebuild. You were never created to receive your identity from inconsistent attention. You were never designed to call emotional uncertainty a sacred bond. You were never meant to keep proving that you deserve basic honesty. The old connection may have comforted your fear while starving your future. That is why releasing it feels like losing safety. The familiar can feel safer than the faithful. But God is teaching you the difference. Say this softly if your heart is ready. I will not settle. Not from bitterness, not to punish anyone. I will not settle because God is forming deeper discernment in me. I will not trade peace for temporary access. I will not trade clarity for occasional affection. I will not trade my future for a memory that refuses to become healthy. Chosen one, this is not a vow against love. It is a vow against abandoning yourself to keep love nearby. There is still more beneath this ending. The connection felt comforting for a reason. It touched an old hunger to be selected, defended, and finally considered enough. God is not only removing a person, He is healing the wound that made their inconsistency feel like destiny. And when that wound is healed, you will recognize love differently. You will not need confusion to make affection feel powerful. You will not need distance to make reunion feel valuable. You will not need pain to prove that something matters. The next season will require a clearer heart. God is preparing you to receive it without repeating the old pattern. There is a moment after you stop chasing an explanation. The room remains quiet. The memory remains real. But something inside you stops kneeling before the unanswered question. Chosen one. That is where vindication begins. Not when everyone finally agrees with your version. Not when the person who wounded you admits every detail. Vindication begins when their opinion no longer decides what you believe about yourself. God has been watching that transformation in you. He has seen you resist the temptation to turn pain into a public performance. He has seen you choose restraint when your hands could have reached for revenge. That choice did not make you invisible. It made your character visible to heaven. There is a difference between justice and retaliation. Retaliation asks, how can I make them feel what I felt? Justice asks, how can truth be restored without creating another wound? Only God can carry both questions without losing His holiness. So release the courtroom in your mind. Release the imaginary conversation where you finally say everything perfectly. Release the audience you keep trying to convince. You do not need to win every witness. The Lord knows the testimony of your life. He knows where you were sincere. He knows where you were immature. He knows where you apologized. He knows where they refused to change. He knows the difference between your mistake and their pattern. That difference matters. A confession of your weakness does not require you to accept a false accusation. Humility does not mean agreeing with every story told about you. Humility means allowing God to correct you without allowing people to define you. Chosen one, you can be teachable and still be protected. You can be gentle and still be clear. You can forgive and still refuse renewed access. Forgiveness releases the debt. Discernment controls the door. Those are not opposing acts. They are two forms of wisdom. Some doors close after a season of loving correction. Others close because God is preserving what He placed inside you. The closed door does not announce that you were unlovable. It may announce that your future could no longer breathe in that room. Think about a plant kept in a container that has become too small. The soil may once have nourished it. The pot may have served a real purpose, but roots eventually need room to stretch. What once held the plant can later restrict its growth. Leaving the container is not an insult to the container. It is evidence that life has continued. Your former relationship may have carried genuine moments. It may also have become too small for what God is growing in you. Do not insult your past by pretending it was meaningless. Do not insult your future by treating it as the only meaningful thing. Hold both truths with maturity. The past mattered. The past is not your master. This is where C.S. Lewis gives language to a hunger many people cannot name. In The Weight of Glory, he describes a person choosing something small because a greater joy cannot yet be imagined. He writes that our desires are not too strong, but too weak. We are far too easily pleased. Imagine a child making mud pies in a slum because the child cannot imagine a holiday at sea. The child is not foolish for wanting pleasure. The child simply has no picture of the greater invitation. Chosen one, some relationships feel like comfort because they are familiar. They give you a small portion of what your heart was designed to receive. A message arrives, and your whole body relaxes. A delayed reply comes, and your whole body tightens. You begin calling that cycle chemistry. You begin calling unpredictability passion. You begin calling emotional hunger love. But God is not shaming you for having wanted connection. He is widening your imagination. He is teaching you that peace can be intimate. Consistency can be attractive. Honesty can feel alive. A relationship does not need to keep you anxious to keep you interested. You do not need to earn basic tenderness through repeated suffering. The greater joy may feel unfamiliar at first. That does not make it less real. Sometimes healing feels empty before it feels peaceful. You reach for the old conversation because the empty evening feels too large. Your hand opens the message thread. You read the same sentences again. You wait for a new meaning to appear. Nothing changes on the screen, but something changes in you when you close it without sending another message. That small act is not dramatic. It is a seed. It is a quiet refusal to feed the former pattern. Chosen one. God can meet you in that quiet refusal. He can teach your nervous system that stillness is not danger. He can teach your heart that absence is not proof of worthlessness. He can teach your mind to stop confusing pursuit with devotion. The vine does not produce fruit by clinging to every branch nearby. In John chapter 15, Jesus speaks about the vine and the branches. A branch receives life by abiding in the vine. It does not survive by gripping another branch for identity. It does not bear fruit by remaining attached to whatever is closest. Its life comes from the source. Chosen one, your belonging must return to Christ. People can love you deeply. People can support your calling. People can share a season with you. But no human connection can become the root of your existence. When one person leaves, the vine has not died. The source remains. The Father also prunes fruitful branches. Pruning is not the same as abandonment. It is a careful removal of what limits greater fruit. The cut can feel personal because it touches something attached to you. Yet the gardener is not destroying the branch. He's preparing it for a fuller expression of life. You may be mourning what was removed. God may be tending what remains. You may see only the empty space. He may see the strength returning to your roots. You may think the season produced nothing. He may be pointing to the discernment, patience, and courage now growing in you. Do not measure the work by what is visible today. Roots do not announce themselves while they deepen. A tree does not apologize for spending a season underground. It gathers strength there. It becomes able to carry what its younger structure could not support. Your next relationship will require that strength. Your next assignment will require that clarity. Your next yes will need a healed no behind it. That is why God is not rushing you back into noise. He is restoring your hearing. He is making peace recognizable again. He is separating desire from desperation. Chosen one, let this faith rise quietly within you. I am ready. Not ready to repeat the old pattern. Ready to receive what agrees with truth. Ready to love without abandoning discernment. Ready to walk forward without demanding a complete explanation first. The door behind you may stay closed. The life before you is still opening. There is one question beneath the question. It is more difficult to admit. Why did their attention feel necessary? Why did their absence make you question your value? Chosen one, many people do not see this part. They think the pain is only about the person who left. Sometimes it is also about the younger place inside you that still longs to be chosen. You may have learned early to work for affection. You may have become the reliable one, the understanding one, the one who gave people another chance before they asked. You may have learned to sense every change in a room, a shorter reply, a colder voice, a promise that became vague. And when someone pulled away, you did not only feel their distance, you felt the old fear rise again. Perhaps I am too much. Perhaps I am not enough. Perhaps if I become easier to love, they will stay. But hear this gently. Love that requires you to disappear is not teaching you love. It is teaching you fear. A bond that asks you to ignore truth for temporary peace cannot become a safe home. God is uncovering this not to embarrass you. He is uncovering it to heal you. He wants to separate your identity from the shifting behavior of other people. He wants you to know that being overlooked never made you ordinary. Being misunderstood never cancelled your calling. Being left did not make you less worthy of faithful love. Chosen one. You have been looking at subtraction as evidence of loss. God may be asking you to see it as strategy. In Judges chapter 7, Gideon stood before an army too large to count. He needed strength. He needed allies. He needed every visible advantage he could get. But God looked at Gideon's army and said it was too large, not too small. The Lord reduced it again and again. Those who were afraid went home. Then more were separated by the way they drank at the water. At last, Gideon stood with 300 men. From a human perspective, the reduction looked dangerous. It looked like a mistake. It looked like God had removed what was needed for survival. But God was protecting the meaning of the victory. If Gideon had won with a vast army, people could have praised their numbers. They could have worshipped their own strength. They could have forgotten who delivered them. So God reduced what Gideon leaned upon. Then he revealed what Gideon could not have seen before. The victory was never resting on the crowd. Chosen one, some support has been removed because you were beginning to call it your source. Some voices became too important. Some approval became too necessary. Some access became too powerful over your peace. God is not emptying your life to punish you. He is making room for a testimony that cannot be credited to human control. The people who left may not be the proof that you failed. Their departure may be exposing the strength God wants you to discover without them. This does not mean their leaving was painless. Gideon still had to stand in the dark. He still had to face an enemy camp. He still had to walk forward with fewer visible reasons to feel secure. Faith does not deny the smaller army. Faith recognizes God beside it. You may be facing your own smaller army now. The phone has fewer names. The room has fewer invitations. The future seems to have fewer guarantees. At a table, you notice the empty chair before you notice the meal. You set down the fork. You hear the refrigerator hum. For a moment, you wonder whether absence has become the loudest thing in your life. Chosen one, do not let the empty chair preach a false sermon. It is not saying that you are forgotten. It is not saying that no one will ever sit beside you again. It is not saying that your best days walked out with one person. It is simply a chair. The meaning fear attaches to it is not the final truth. God can fill a room with peace before He fills it with people. He can teach you to enjoy your own company without making you resign to isolation. He can restore your ability to receive love without bargaining for it. He can give you friends and relationships that do not require you to become smaller. But first, He is teaching your heart to stop interpreting emptiness as rejection. This lesson is sacred because a heart afraid of emptiness will accept almost anything to avoid it. It will call mixed signals a miracle. It will call neglect a test of loyalty. It will call repeated disappointment a cross to carry. But Christ did not call you to sacrifice your discernment so another person can remain comfortable. He calls you to walk in love and truth together. The next time you feel the urge to return, pause. Do not shame yourself for the urge. Name what is happening. You may not be missing the person as much as you are missing certainty. You may not be longing for the relationship as much as you are longing to feel selected. Bring that longing to God. Do not hide it behind a text message. Do not cover it with another hour of scrolling. Tell the Lord, I want to be wanted. Tell Him, I am tired of wondering where I stand. Tell Him, I need your love to become more believable than their silence. God is not offended by an honest prayer. He meets you where you are truthful, and He begins rebuilding from there. The hidden work in you will change what you recognize later. You will notice peace sooner. You will notice manipulation sooner. You will stop mistaking urgency for intimacy. You will stop calling a closed door a challenge to prove your devotion. You will understand that a person can be important without being assigned to your future. That understanding does not make you cold. It makes you free. Chosen one, let this become your witness tonight. Every ending was preparation. God can redeem every ending. Not every ending was good. Not every departure was fair. But no ending is beyond God's power to redeem. The betrayal can become discernment. The loneliness can become depth. The silence can become hearing. The closed door can become a boundary that protects your calling. You do not have to celebrate what wounded you. You only need to trust that God can refuse to waste it. He is gathering the pieces fear called ruined. He is turning them toward wisdom. He is forming a future self who will not beg for what God never asked you to pursue. Stay with this truth. The deepest reason for the removal is still unfolding. The relationship did not only bring you pain, it also covered the quieter voice God had been trying to restore within you. The next revelation is about that voice. It is about what you can finally hear now that the noise has begun to fade. Chosen one, if your heart is ready, declare this before heaven. I trust what God is restoring. I trust His direction beyond this closed door. I trust His peace more than the confusion behind me. I trust the voice returning in the quiet. The noise is fading now, and in the quiet, something holy is returning. Your ability to hear. The former bond did more than occupy your time. It occupied your inner room. It trained you to wait for a reply, to measure your worth by a change in their tone, to let one person's distance become louder than God's steady presence. There were gentle corrections you could not hear, not because God stopped speaking, but because your heart was listening for someone else. The Lord was warning you when peace kept leaving. He was showing you when confusion became normal. He was inviting you back to yourself, back to prayer, back to the clear place where love does not require panic. And now, with the noise beginning to fade, you can hear that invitation again. You can hear that you were not created to chase what keeps running. You can hear that you do not need to argue your value into someone else's understanding. You can hear the difference between conviction and condemnation. Condemnation says you were foolish and ruined. God's conviction says you are loved and you can choose differently now. Chosen one, this is not merely a loss. It is a restoration of hearing. There are doors you prayed would open. You stood before them with tears. You explained your heart. You waited for the conversation that would finally repair everything. But the door remained shut. Perhaps it felt slammed. Perhaps it felt double-bolted. C.S. Lewis knew the ache of questions that seemed to meet a locked heaven. Until we have faces, he brings us near the moment when the search for an explanation finally breaks open. The answer is not a neat argument. It is the presence of God Himself. You yourself are the answer. Chosen one, some questions will not be healed by getting every detail. They will be healed when you discover that God has remained with you inside the question. The closed door may still hurt, but it no longer has to define the whole house. God is protecting rooms ahead that you cannot yet see. He is not withholding love from you. He is teaching you not to call every available entrance an assignment. Hebrews tells us that whoever comes near to God must believe that He exists and that He rewards those who earnestly seek Him. Faith is not pretending that loss never happened. Faith is coming near while the evidence is incomplete. Faith is saying, Lord, I do not understand this removal, but I will not build my life on what I cannot control. I will build it on your character. I will trust that your goodness is not absent because closure is delayed. Forgiveness can remain open in your heart, but access has changed. Hear that without fear. Forgiveness is not an invitation to repeat the wound. Compassion is not a command to ignore discernment. You can release bitterness without reopening the same door. You can pray for them without returning to the pattern. You can wish them peace while protecting your own. Chosen one, the boundary God is forming in you is not punishment. It is wisdom with a gentle voice. One morning, you will reach for your phone and notice something different. The screen will still be dark, but your chest will not collapse around the silence. You will breathe before you check for their name. You will make your coffee. Light will rest across the room, and the place that once felt haunted by absence will begin to feel spacious. That is healing. Peace is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply the moment their silence stops controlling your day. Sometimes it is the moment you stop rehearsing the last conversation. Sometimes it is the quiet realization that you survived the night you feared would undo you. Let us pray. Father, release from this heart every grip that you have asked it to loosen. Remove bitterness without removing wisdom. Heal the place that confused inconsistency with love. Give your child clean hands, clear hearing, and a steady spirit. Where there is confusion, bring truth. Where there is shame, bring mercy. Where there is fear of being alone, bring your faithful presence. Teach this heart to receive what is good without begging for what is harmful. In Jesus' name, Amen. Chosen one, you can remain tender. You do not have to become cold to become safe. You can love deeply and still ask whether love is truthful. You can forgive and still remember what wisdom learned. You can welcome new people without handing them the keys to every wounded room. God is not making you hard. He is making you whole. The silence will not last forever. The work taking place beneath it will become visible. You will recognize clearer relationships. You will recognize peace sooner. You will recognize the voice of God without having to silence your own soul first. Carry this lesson forward. God removed them not because your heart was disposable. He removed what was confusing your hearing, weakening your boundaries, and making a small love seem like your only future. What felt like rejection may become one of the mercies you understand most deeply. Not because the pain was good, but because God is able to meet you there and lead you beyond it. May He bless what comes next. May your future relationships be marked by truth, peace, and neutral honor. May you stop performing for affection. May you stop calling anxiety a sign that something is precious. May your heart recognize the love that does not make you abandon yourself. Chosen one, if this is your faith tonight, write these words where heaven can witness them. I receive it. I receive the wisdom. I receive the peace. I receive the new season God is preparing. And if you need a place to return when the old silence tries to speak again, stay connected here. Not because you need a person to carry your faith, but because reminders can help you return to the one who never leaves. There is peace beyond this door. There is guidance beyond this confusion. There are better things ahead than the love you had to beg to keep. Rest tonight. God is still leading you, and the life ahead of you is not closing. It is opening